Okay, guys, we're back again, and this time we're going to talk about how maybe some of these newer cars are kind of like they're becoming like throwaway cars. Um, what I mean by throwaway cars, and this is what I was kind of telling Tyson just a minute ago, is when your phone gets to a certain age and just stops working and everything, what do? You just kind of throw the phone away, um, and get a new one.
I think you're supposed. I think you're supposed to recycle those, Nick. I'm just saying.
Oh. Recycle, okay. But no, but I'm just saying, what do? You just go get a new one. Um, in the At least from my end, because I like working on cars. Well, not really like, but sometimes I do. Depends what's going on. But you know, what am I trying to say is like people are trying to collect, and I think this is why the collector car values are going up too, because people can work on all their cars, and so now these are getting so heavily electronic that it's becoming harder. And let's get a Tyson's opinion, and then I'll come back and I'll bounce off that. So Tyson, what do you think with these newer cars coming out? Do you think they're gonna, or do you think they're kind of a throwaway, and type of car? Like what's your thoughts?
Yeah, ironically, I actually had this conversation like a week ago with my wife. I think it's BS. I'll be flat out. I I'm a guy that don't enjoy working on my car. I do it, saves me a buck here and there. I dread it, but I do it. I haven't had a car I've enjoyed working on. But one of the things is now you've got to take a car to a shop that's either got specialty parts that cost so much, or yeah, it's at the point now where you have to basically everybody, because it's just so much work or costs so much. It is a buy new market, not brand new, but go buy another car. It's phones, it's appliances, it's everything. And I'm old. I know I'm old. Look at my hat. It says I'm a Jag fan.
Yeah. Speaking of appliances, I just want a washing machine that just has a knob. I don't care if it has Bluetooth.
I actually just repaired our dryer. I took it out in the driveway, but our dryer's 15 years old. But yeah, I needed to put a new belt on and one of the pulleys underneath the tensioner for the belt. I replaced all that, but we had my wife had there's some washer repair we needed done too, and we couldn't do that, so we called in a repairman, and he quoted us, but he told us flat out, he's like, I wouldn't go buy a new one. It's about the same price, but he's like, these are still fixable. The new ones are not. He's like, we can't fix the new ones. When the new one goes bad, you're buying a new washer. So keep this older one that you have, and do repairs. It's better. And I agree. I'm if we can fix it, we can. But yeah, so it's not just obviously cars. And I've had literally two experiences where I fixed my dryer and we had a repairman fix our washer, and he even agreed, hey, and maybe it's job security for him. He is a washer repairman, but he agreed, buy older and repair because they're just better machines. They don't build them like they used to. Man, that adage feels more and more true the older I get. But it applies to a lot of things. Yeah.
And at least with me working on even on my old car, the '69 Vet, the I get parts, and I've gone through two alternators already, and I'm like going, dude, I just within a 2 year span. So I went with I had to go with the higher end alternator that I know that will not break on me. You know what I'm saying? That it will last. But I shouldn't have to spend $300 on an alternator, you know, instead of the one you can get for 140. Now, after I put that new one on there, I'm glad I did. It was the greatest thing ever now, because I mean it's doing what it needs. It's doing what it's intended to do. It's not giving me any problems like the other one. So the parts, you basically you get what you pay for,
Oh, 100%.
because parts are just, I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on with that either.
Let me ask Nick, do you remember we both did a lot of car repairs in our teenage years? We both had cars. You had the Maverick you had to constantly fix. My Fiero, as much as I love that car, it's a clunker. We had to do a lot of repairs. But when you went to buy a part, there wasn't as much in the back in the day. There were a few things like there's a transmission, Holly transmission or something like that. But for the most part, there wasn't premium alternators and cheap alternators. It felt like you went and you told them what vehicle you had and you ordered the damn alternator you needed, and that was what you got. And it was made by the manufacturer, possibly, but it wasn't off-brand. So now we've got not only are cars harder to fix, more expensive to fix, but then you've got to buy premium, just like everything else. I mean, small tangent here. We just bought a garden hose because we've gone through 2 garden hoses in 2 months because they keep getting holes, and went and we looked, and there's a premium version garden hose. Like, let's try that because you have to. Well, we just got it yesterday. I'll tell you in a week or 2.
Okay. No, but it's that's what it is. I mean, like you said, it's everything. I bought a fridge, lasted about a year and a half, and I had the repairman come out, and because it wasn't chilling, the repairman came out. He showed me. And he's like, look, before we would, he calls it welding, but it's just the solder. He's like, it's just a plastic clamp now. And here's the tool that I had to buy. The tool cost him like $4,000, or whatever. I mean, it wasn't $4,000. I'm exaggerating, but it cost a pretty penny for him to use. So what does he do? After he's fixing it, he's like, I'm just going to solder this. And because we bought parts, and he took the plastic part off, and then he put that, and he's like, your fridge will never break down again. And I'm like going, all right, I love you.
I sometimes wonder, I'm going to sound a little conspiracy theorist here. I don't think this is the case, but I do wonder if it's on purpose by some of these manufacturers with the thought of build something that'll last 3-4 years and get them coming back constantly. Because let's be honest, companies make more money on return customers than building something that lasts that they're only going to buy once because we made it so damn good. So
it's not a conspiracy theory. There was actually, I think, a week or 2 ago, a whistleblower from GM came out. He's an engineer from GM, and he just basically said, yeah, we engineer them for they don't last.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I haven't heard that one. I'm not doubting you. I just haven't heard it. So it doesn't surprise me, one, because once again, I work in manufacturing, I work in warehousing, I work where we have a customer for what I do. And return customers, that is where the money is. Let's be honest. If you're selling to a customer once and that's it, your business model is not going to do well in this type of capitalist world. And I'm not trying to be anti-capitalist, but let's be honest. For capitalism to work, you need to continually sell. And if you're making the same product but you're making it to where it lasts for decades, then yeah, you're definitely going to get that return customer 30 years down the road. Or I might get them 4 times in that time span. I'm going to take the 4 times.
So now here's my story. My Subaru, okay, it had a leaky carrier cams. Basically just needs a gasket. But They engineered it to where you have to take the engine out, or at least lift it up, and to fix the oil leak. And Subarus are known for this. They happen all the time, and head gaskets and all that. It's been known for a long, long time. So I go in to Subaru, okay? I'm just getting an oil change and stuff, and they point it out to me. Now, guess how much they wanted just to change out? Okay, so this included spark plugs, fixing the leaks, and let's see, there was something else on top of it. But anyway, all that, they wanted $6,000. And I'm like going, what for a gasket set that costs $100 and plus whatever,
It's that labor
costs and everything. And they're like, well, we have to take the engine out, and to replace the gasket and everything. I said, okay, because that's their engineering way to do it. And then the thing is, on top of that, spark plugs, they're cheap. The engine's already out. That alone was $800. And I'm like, what? The engine's already out. How are you going to charge me $800? They're like, well, according to the labor manual, we have to add that on. So they're basically charging you labor twice because you have to take the spark plugs out anyway to change the cam carrier gasket. Oh, so stupid.
Is this a flat four?
Yeah, it's a box.
Yeah, flat four. Boxster engine. Yeah, okay.
And so anyway, I changed the spark plugs myself. It's kind of a pain in the ass to get in there, but it's very doable as long as you have the right tools. I had and you have to do a certain way. I have a video of me actually changing the spark plugs on the Subaru, and that's probably one of my more viewed videos because people really have used it and they've thanked me a lot on it. Like, oh, this is how, because I went step by step. With the cam carriers, I had to. Luckily, I have a really great neighbor. He's a master mechanic. Don't get me wrong. He works on like McLarens, Audis. He's Lamborghini certified and all that. Because it's under Audi and all that. He knows what he's doing, and he used to be a helicopter pilot. And he's like, I'll do it for about like $800. He's like, I'll have it done in this many hours, and he did. We lived up to his promise. I gave him a little extra cash. He goes, there you go. Thanks. Give him a little more tip. And,
I take it he has an engine lift then? He's able to lift it there and he's got a hoist or whatever in his garage? Or?
No, he didn't have a hoist. He was able to lift the engine up cockeyed on one side, did it, because he took the engine mount out. Dropped it.
That's how I replaced my gasket on the Fiero back in the day. Anyway.
Yeah. So this is what I mean by throwaway cars. So when they first told me that was going to be about $6,000, I'm like going, what? I'm like, I'll just trade the damn car in. And then, because the car's, worth about 16,000. So, I might not get that for a trade-in value, but it's worth about there. That would have been a great down payment for the newer car. So, that's how they get you. They get you by the balls, my friend. They get you by the balls.
So I have been thinking about this, though. So as much as we've talked about like throwaway everything, one thing and maybe it's because I'm buying better quality cars in my older age. My cars are kind of newer, whatever. Cars are harder to work on. I need to have specialty tools. I've had to buy specialty tools, change all my different spark plugs because everyone's got a different freaking size now that's special to them, etc. They cost more if you take them to a mechanic. They are, unlike the washer machines, and like we were saying, though, at least the ones I've had, and maybe I'm going to jinx myself. Hang on. That's me knocking on wood. Been more reliable. Like, I actually, as long as I'm doing the maintenance on my car, oil changes and stuff, I can't think of the last time I've actually had something break on any of my cars. So
when was your last? I mean, I haven't had anything major break, but it's little things like the oil leaks and stuff like that. Sure. So what was your last major repair, you would think?
Honestly, my last major, besides a car that we were just trying to restore, changing out the headlights in a Mercedes is a pain in the butt. Let's see. Oh, my wife had an Infiniti, and it had the little air intake, not the valves, the sensors. The air intake sensors for those are notoriously not great. And we had to change those out 2 or 3 times before they found out it was a firmware update they had to do to the car, because cars are computers. And then once they did that, it stopped going through sensors. It wasn't terrible to do. Like, I taught her how to do it because it was her car. It still took her 20 minutes. She had to remove a couple things here and there. But honestly, that's the major stuff. Like, we did have an axle get a crack in it on the EV, now that I think about it, but it was warranty. So we didn't pay a thing. So I've been lucky, though. And I admit it, I've been lucky. But now that I think about it, honestly, I haven't had like an alternator go out, or I haven't had anything happen in a long time on a car.
Well, okay, so that's the vet's different because I have to find different parts because they just don't make it. Plus,
well, I mean, it's a 50-year-old car.
Yeah, and
60-year-old car. I can't do math. It's old.
I'm trying to bring it up to date a little bit because I put like digital gauges in there and stuff like that. because a lot of the, don't get me wrong, I love mechanical, I do, but as age hits, those mechanical pieces have problems also. I think this is the direction, especially with the older cars, because a lot of people are retro modding, and there's a huge market. I mean, huge, of, like I said, having new gauges, and they're all digital. Now, when I mean digital, they're still analog, but everything's controlled digitally.
Right.
And it works way better. It's in the back. So like here's the front where the tack gauge was. The old one like stuck out this far, and it was kind of hard to pull in and out, if you had to take the dash apart. The other one's like more than half less, so it's like skinnier because it's all just electronics. So it really makes things easier to work on, and and everything like that. And they really make it as easy as possible to plug and play too. So these aftermarket people, they're doing a really great job with that. But once again, they're expensive. I'm not gonna lie. Those gauges are very expensive. You could buy your older gauges that are analog for way cheaper.
Right.
Right. But what do you want to do with the old car? But mine's an extreme old car. Now, say if I had because I'm like, say, looking at a 90s Corvette. They don't make a lot of anything really for the 90s style vets. And a lot of those old electronics are really fading away. And I think that's going to be the next big market for people retro modding those eventually, and I think somebody's going to come in and replace all them with, a little more modern electronics and stuff like that. Because, back in the day, those circuit boards and stuff like that, they're way bigger and not as fast and blah, blah, blah. But part wise, that's I don't know, once again, you get what you pay for on the old cars anyway.
No, 100%.
The newer cars being able to throw away, like I said, I don't, and a lot of these cars don't strike me like I want to keep that car forever. There's a few. Don't get me wrong, and we'll probably talk about that sometime, but a lot of cars, they just all look the same. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's actually why I bought a Mini, was because they still kind of look different. And I mentioned, I get teased for it a little bit here and there because I drive a Mini. I don't care. At least you can pick it out on the road.
Right. That's why I like the Subaru. You could tell it's a Subaru. Because if you get like a Mazda or even like a Lexus, they all kind of look the same,
You've got to look at the emblem to be able to tell. You've got to look at the emblem now, basically.
Yep. Unless it's like a flagship, something like that. Like what's the Nissan? The Z?
Yeah. I love the Z. I want a Z.
They are cool. Yeah. But so that's my final thought on it. Is just, I think they're just kind of throwaway cars now, the newer ones. What do you think?
I agree. I think, like I said, a little bit of a counter to what I said. I think newer cars, they do last longer. But I also do think that even though they last longer, once they do hit that, let's say, lifespan, nowadays, that's exactly what people look at is, let's just go buy another one. Let's not fix this. It costs the same amount. Like, I've had that conversation years ago, run into an issue. It's like, well, we can get a new car for that cost. I mean, not a great car, but we can. So overall, car quality, unlike a lot of things, is up. However, keeping those cars for your life, a little bit harder because you can't fix them yourselves, and it's going to cost a lot of money to maintain. So you might go 10 years without a car issue, but once that car does start having issues, I think that's literally the mentality. It's not I think it's the mentality of everybody too, not even the older generation. It's everybody of, let's just go get a new car. It's that much easier. And honestly, every car I buy, I hope will be the car I keep for my life because I just don't want another car payment. But ultimately, if the Mini or the Bolt hits a major problem, Yeah, I'm car savvy enough, but if it costs enough, it's going. I'll go get something else. I might buy another Mini, but I'm still getting rid of that car. As much as I hate to admit it, but it's the way it is, and I don't like it, but it is.
Yep, that's true. You try to drive it as long as possible, but there is always a point where you gotta let it go. It's just a car. I mean, I don't know how many cars I've gone through. I don't know how many you've gone through, but and there's some I wanted to keep, but even then, you're like going, you got to justify it.
I mean, I love my BMW, and I don't own it anymore. So as much as I love that car, I mean, I want to keep not every car. I've had a couple of cars I hate, but I love all my cars, and part of me never wants to get rid of them. But the reality is they all die sometime. Wow.
Unless you
So,
want to bring them back, like what I'm doing. So
right.
anyway, what do you know? Once again, to the audience here, well, like I said, if you guys got any topics or questions or anything like that, leave a little comment, and we'll get back to you. So I'm kind of leaving that more on Tyson's side. So anyway, we'll let you go, and we'll see you next week, right?
Yep. Drive safe. Buckle up.